Welcome back. I'm going to read a quote from a very good author. Sorry about the wind. His name's Robert Higgs. He's a fantastic economist from the Mises Institute, or affiliated with the Mises Institute. And so anyways, here it goes. Anarchists did not try to carry out the genocide against the Armenians in Turkey. They did not deliberately starve millions of Ukrainians. They did not create a system of death camps to kill Jews, Gypsies, and Slavs in Europe. They did not firebomb scores of large German and Japanese cities and drop nuclear bombs on 2 of them. They did not carry out a great leap forward that killed scores of millions of Chinese. They did not attempt to kill everybody with an appreciable education in Cambodia. They did not launch one aggressive war after another. They did not implement trade sanctions that killed perhaps 500,000 Iraqi children. In debates between anarchists and statists, the burden of proof should clearly rest on those who place their trust in the state. Anarchy's mayhem is wholly conjectural. The state's mayhem is undeniably, factually horrendous. It's one of my favorite quotes, one of my favorite anarchist quotes that there are, because it perfectly encapsulates the flaw in the sort of mindset that a world without government is a world that we should be afraid of. It's a world that would be chaotic and a world that would be absolutely unruly, and people would be murdering each other, and there'd be wars left and right, and it'd be totally different than what we have now, right? Wrong. What we have now is exactly what people say they're afraid would happen if we had anarchy. And there's really no reason to think that it's going to be that way if we are to look for evidence of anarchy being worse than statism. Like Robert said in the quote, all of the critiques of anarchism are wholly conjectural, but all of the critiques of statism are rooted in historical fact. It's historically factual that statism, that governments engage in horrific acts of bloody mass murder routinely on a regular basis, and that they routinely engage in acts that go against the will of the people who they're supposed to serve, and of course everybody else. So with that in mind, we fast forward to the current situation. Again, sorry about the wind. It's a very windy day here. We fast forward to the current situation in the world, where really there's just a lifting of the veil, otherwise known as an apocalypse. That's literally what the word means, is basically lifting of the veil. And the absolutely just horrific acts of the people at the very top, namely in the Epstein files, are being shown to us, but they're being shown to us in a very strategic way. Like, the question should be, like, why are they coming out with those Epstein files now? And you could say that it's, due to, mass pressure that they're being put under to release the files. But I think another good explanation could be that it's a deliberate effort, because of course they haven't released all of the files, right? They haven't even released half of what's there. But I think it's a deliberate effort to basically just demoralize people. And the reason why I think that is because if there's basically two different scenarios from here on out. Either there will continue to be, either just the amount that was released is going to be that's only going to be the stuff that's released, but more likely there's going to be more files that are going to be released, more just heinous, absolutely just satanic garbage is going to be released in the future, and nothing will happen. Like nobody will experience justice. Nobody will, like, there's going to be no repercussions basically for the people that engaged in those things, which is one scenario, which goes just hand in hand with this idea that there's a deliberate sort of effort at demoralizing the public. Or what could happen is there are people that do something about it. Now, I'll leave you to determine for yourself what you think that could be, but I think whoever's listening to this video is probably going to have a pretty good idea. But if that were to happen, of course, there will be an all-out attack on those people and anybody that would be involved with them. And they'd be demonized by the government-controlled, the board-controlled media, and there would just be an all-out war waged upon them, and then ultimately waged upon anybody who stands in the way of them creating the world that they want to create, which is just this totalitarian one world government system of just absolute complete control over everybody and everything. And that is basically where I think that they're trying to go. Is they're doing both of the things. They're both demoralizing people and confirming to people that nothing ever happens, and then they're preparing in advance for when people do, for when there's just absolutely so much depravity that's being exposed that it motivates some people to do some things. And I think it goes it complements their plan very, very well to be exposing these sort of things when the economy is in the way that it is, where the dollar is just on its last legs and things are the way that they are, because it's pushing people. It's like the level of desperation that people are arriving at is becoming more and more dire, and they're just basically setting it up perfectly. And so that's what I really think that the plan ultimately is to have basically a civil war break out in this country, and for them to swoop in as the saviors, the problem reaction solution technique, where they cause the problem and then they react to the problem and pose as the saviors, right? Again, sorry about the wind. And that is the unfortunate scenario where the people find themselves, where individuals find themselves in this sort of story, where there really isn't, seemingly there isn't any good way of responding to the world the way that it is now, and having like a great effect. Because like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about those people that are in those files that, you know, that have done those absolutely horrifically depraved things and have faced no justice for them? It's really tough to think of solutions that don't involve really, really dark things from happening. But the silver lining of the whole thing is that it's showing people are starting to wake up, and they're starting to realize the nature of this thing, this creature, this mythology known as government, this mythology known as the state and as authority. And it's motivating them to find different ideas and find different worldviews that are more conducive to producing a world that's free, or at least is more effective at fighting those kinds of evils, aka voluntarism and anarchism and that kind of thing. But then again, the unfortunate other thing is that it's radicalizing people in a wholly different direction. A lot of people aren't denouncing totalitarianism, but rather they're embracing the idea that they should wield the power of the state because they would be more righteous in doing so. They'd be more righteous. If they were to have the ring of power, then they would be the ones who would righteously wield it, and everything would be great. So ultimately, what humanity has to do is burn the ring. Like, we have to get rid of this idea, to use a Lord of the Rings reference. We have to burn the ring, and we have to get rid of this idea of authority. We have to get rid of this idea that one person can have extra rights that another person doesn't have, and that another person is the rightful property of another. And until we reach that point, you can pretty much expect there to be more depravity, more sickness, more mass murder, and more just horrific things happening throughout history to follow. Because the necessary ingredient to those things is the belief in authority that people like myself, anarchists and voluntarists, reject entirely. Thank you for watching.